Hello, I'm Toycat and happy birthday to me. I'm wearing sunglasses today, not because I think they look good, but because I'm in the middle of a desert, and something I've noticed about very hot places is the sun burns your eyes too. So I've been wearing the sunglasses as much as I can, because then I can actually see things without squinting like crazy, and that is going to be important because let's do a walk and talk through the Red Rock Canyon. It is a big canyon, and you're never going to believe this, the rocks are red. It's apparently iron ore that's oxidized. But anyway, it's my birthday today, and I wanted to use this as an opportunity. You know, I can talk about anything, right? We can say, well, it's your birthday, Toycat, so if you want to talk about your final solution, I mean, if that's what you need to do. But I'm not going to be talking about any solutions to problems, except maybe one that I've kind of learned over my 27 years of life. And that's a weird thing to say out loud. I always think that I'm like slightly older or slightly younger than I am. I'm like, you know, I feel like young 20s in some ways, and like early 30s in other ways, you know, late 20s, like 29, 21, everything in between feels a bit fake. But one of the things that I've come to accept as time has gone on is birthdays as a whole. I used to have a real hard time with birthdays because the only conceivable benefit is that, you know, like sometimes people are slightly nice to you, they say happy birthday, but that's not really a benefit. That's like everyone coming up to you and being excited to make, you know, like something, you know, it's like an opportunity to talk to you. And as an introverted person, people coming up to me with opportunities to talk to me is the worst. And so the real benefit to birthdays would just be you get some form of cool gift. But then as you get older, as you approach, you know, your late teenage years, you start to realize that, yeah, the gifts, they lose their value too. You're more expected to start going off and do those by yourself. And so the end result is birthdays are not exciting. I remember, I don't know, like emo teenage Toycat being like, "Oh, birthdays are the worst. I hate them." It was something I felt bad for. I think I left it open on a laptop, and someone in my family read it, and I was like, "Oh man, that's like painful to hear out loud," because it's something I realized, and I'm realizing this all the time. Just this past week, I got quite injured in a fall from one of these, not one of these rocks, but a rock that looks like a desert. It looks like that. I was climbing one and I fell into some like jaggedy rocks. Like imagine, it's like this, but like much bigger, and falling sideways onto that. It wasn't a big fall, it was a big fall, which is, you know, interesting to think about by itself. But it was like, I was really lucky because it didn't break the surface. Like I felt like I'd been stabbed, and that like, oh god, I'm going to the hospital. I don't know. I have travel insurance that covers me for up to I think it's $1 million, £5 million. I think it must be pounds, I guess. So it covers me up to £1 to £5 million. That's going to cover any hospital visit. But I was just thinking to myself like, oh man, I bet it's going to be one of those systems where they reimburse me. Oh god. Sorry, there was a rock falling and I heard that noise and I thought it might be a snake. I'm not mentally prepared to deal with snakes, if I'm being honest with you. But I was just thinking to myself like, oh, it's going to be like a reimbursement situation, and then they're going to be like, did you go to the right hospital? You know, like that was the fear. It was not I might be injured, because I knew I was fine. I could tell I was going to walk away at least, but I was worried like, oh, this is going to be a financial. Oh, there's a lot of chipmunk. I don't know what that is. Okay, sorry. I like wildlife more than I like talking about whatever I was just talking about. It was like a small rabbit. I don't know how to describe it. I'm going to get near the bush and he's going to run out, I'm assuming. There he is. What is that? Have you ever seen one of those? I genuinely... That's adorable. I hope you're seeing this. This little hoppy fella. I like seeing wildlife. As long as it's not snakes, I'm down, you know? Hello. I'm back. The sun is fading away, which is nice. But, yeah, let's do faces for a little bit, just to enjoy the little bit of time while the sun is away. But speaking of the sun being away, one of the things I realized about after the fact, because luckily didn't have to go to any American hospital, deal with the whole financing of that, didn't have to deal with any of this nonsense. But I realized that like, ooh, yeah, when I shared with people, I was mentally thinking like, oh, they're gonna make a big deal about how injured, because it looked real bad. in my opinion. Like, there was so red in such a big place. It's like yellow now, in case you're curious. My leg is like, it's purple and yellow and green. It doesn't look good. But I sent some pictures, you know, being like, oh, you know, but like, obviously, one of the things I realized from the responses I got back was like, even though I really didn't, I was even mentally thinking like, oh, I really hope they don't make a big deal of this. But then when they didn't, I was like, oh, you know, feel a tiny bit like not cared about in that way, right? And it's interesting because this is a perfect case. Like, it's not actually a big deal. Like, you can just say as an adult afterwards, like, could you actually give me some sympathy instead? It's great. People are good at listening to you if you say the words that correspond with what you're thinking. But one of the things that I realized from that is this kind of dishonesty we have of ourselves. Like, I try my best to be as honest a person I can. Honesty is a trait I really value. Society is filled with subtle half-lies to placate people who can't deal with the truth because they don't like the truth. And that's cool for them. But oh my god, I can feel my face baking. It's 36 Celsius out here, because in the city it's like 40. This is the cool retreat. Like, ooh, only 36 Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit, I think that is. Ooh, what a delightfully low temperature it is. But yeah, the weird thing is like, it's an example of, like, honesty is something we don't just have to practice with others. It's something you should probably start practicing with yourself. And that seems ridiculous. Like, of course you're not lying to yourself, because lying is like saying things that aren't true for personal gain. You know, when I say, oh, I will give you, you know, the other examples of what dishonesty that upset me is like, oh yeah, give me this thing now and I'll give you, I know, just in school, someone would be like, give me 10p now, I'll give you 20p back tomorrow. And I'd be like, heck yeah, double my money. Didn't have a lot of it, so, and then they just wouldn't. They just, you know, they in the moment they might have meant it, but maybe not even then. They just said they would for personal gain. Same with a whole ton of other things. Just like minor lies. My phone is getting so hot. This can't be good for it. Yeah, minor lies are just told all the time, and they're for personal gain, right? That person got my 10p, didn't have to give me 20p back because he just said he would as a way to lie. If you, you know, like, I know I could lie for personal gain by saying, hey, did you know that if you don't subscribe to the channel, you might literally die? I mean, I make the house fire joke, so maybe that's a lie for personal gain. That's a dishonest presentation of stats, right? It's obviously being used for funny measure, but 99% of house fires happen to people who aren't subscribed is facts, just dishonestly presented, which really dives into what dishonesty is. But everyone agrees being dishonest is for personal gain usually. If I lie and tell you that my car hasn't been involved in a breakdown when I tried to sell it to you, then now you'll be buying something with false information. So yeah, this is what dishonesty is. And so you might not think that you can lie to yourself, but one of the lessons I've learned from the aging process is you definitely can lie to yourself, and people definitely do. And sometimes it's nice stuff. It's you know, like, you lie about being happy because if you're happier, you'll be happy for people around you. That's wholesome lies to yourself. But there's also lies about, like, if you admit what you want out loud, sometimes you don't like the person that makes you. You know, we all want to be good people. I'm sorry, this is the shakiest video I've ever made. We all want to be good people, right? And so admitting you want something that makes you a bad person is something you don't want to admit out loud. When in reality, you know, this is like the flawed villain mentality we've had, where villains are just evil people who want evil things and then go do them. But, you know, I would argue that it's more impressive not to not want anything awful, but instead to want awful things, but know they're bad and then to not do them, you know? This is the basis of civilization. We're not all children who have to just be told that, oh yeah, if you litter, you literally die. It's like, well, if you litter, you make the environment very slightly worse for everyone else, and it doesn't really save you that much effort. So, like, do you need to do that, you know? And so, you know, same with basically anything else you can imagine. I'm holding my bottle really awkwardly. This is the worst video ever. Phones don't have great stabilization on them. I'm sorry. I would have brought my GoPro, but I left the house without it. And once you leave the house without something, it's gone. I'll focus forwards, maybe that'll give you a better stabilized view, maybe. I think that being honest with yourself is in knowing what you want, you know, in knowing that when you have this awful fall, what you really want is for someone to go, that looks awful, and then for you to say, no, I'm the cool, chilled, reserved guy who can say, it's not a big deal, this is normal, you know? It's not that you don't want sympathy, it's that you want to turn down sympathy, you know? That's how a lot of people feel. I feel a lot of people are about a lot of things, like, oh, yeah, there's this thing that I can't realistically get, I don't want it. I think a lot of people, for example, who hate, you know, like, I don't know, successful businessmen in particular. Because, you know, it's weird. People will focus on the Jeff Bezos of the world, right? Like, the people who turned, I don't know, like, being an upper middle class person into being the wealthiest man on the planet. Because it's like, well, you know, he says he started himself, but he actually had a $350,000 loan from his parents. Instead of criticizing, you know, the people like the Mars family, I think there's a woman in the Mars family. She just inherited being into the 5th wealthiest person on the planet, or top 10 maybe. She's somewhere in there, where, you know, like, that's much more despisable. Like, oh, that's literally money coming out of nowhere. But instead, the idea of like, oh, these people have money and that makes them bad, and I don't want money because it would make me bad, rather than, oh yeah, the steps to get more money are untenable to me. Either it requires working a much more challenging job, or it requires lots of pre-lineups, or it requires like investing and taking you know, sometimes risks, sometimes just finding the right opportunities, right? But it requires all these things. And so it's not that I want and have not succeeded, it's that I do not want. Being dishonest with yourself this way is probably a good defense mechanism, but I don't think that makes that good overall. Also, I have no idea where this finishes, by the way. Oh god, what is that? Ah! I hate bugs so much. Oh, he's big. Oh, god. Okay, so I'm gonna go this way around, I think. Oh my god, that was a big bug. See, even big bugs are kind of scared of humans, I guess. It's when you see the swarms of bugs that you know that they could take you on, probably win. But yeah, guess we're going up the cliffside now. The act of being dishonest with yourself is really easy, and it's probably a good defense mechanism overall. But I think it's also bad because, again, when we lie, someone is always losing out, right? There is always someone losing out. And so why would you make yourself the victim of lying when you could not be? Why is it you have the choice to lie to yourself or not to? And ultimately, it's really hard not to, because being honest with people, you know, like, this is a thing you realize early on when you try your best to just never tell a lie, is like, there are people who desperately want a lie. I ran into my biological father recently, and for like the 3rd time in my life, I think, and every time he's like, yeah, we need to do this more. And it's like, well, clearly you don't think that. You know, you have access to my information. You could contact me. I've learned that, you know, they've actually been, they found out one of my social media things, so like they know about vaguely what I'm up to at a given point. And it's like, well, clearly you have access, you know? Like, it's this whole like, oh, we need to do this again sometime soon that friends have. Let's be honest. Let's set more reasonable, let's do this within the next 3 months. Let's pencil this in 2 months from now then, shall we? Let's not be unrealistic about this. Like, clearly my week is more busy now than it used to be when we were last regular friends. But also, I would like to meet you still. You know, why is that so hard to say? Why is it so hard to say? You know what? Having a role in your relationship is hard. Totally see that, starting from scratch. But not being friends, being like a parental figure that you've not been used to. But you just say, like, again with I guess that whole process. Also, I think this is the end. Maybe I just follow this up. Is this normally a river, do you think? Lying to yourself is a process whereby you lose out. And lying to other people is a process which is good sometimes. Some people want to be lied to. But sometimes, like, let's drop the facade. We're all humans. We all know we need food, water, and lots of alone space to function. Let's admit when we need those things. Oh, this water tastes so good. Okay, 35 degrees. It's too hot to hike in. I'm going home now. Hope you had a good day. I had a good birthday. Besides, oh, I dropped my lid on the ground. Guess I'm drinking all this now. My phone is literally melting my hands. Like, I think I have like little burns on my hands now. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Third channel, don't care. Goodbye.